Now, if memory serves, I'm pretty sure we're in the final act. I can't see anything. What do you want me to aim at? Is that a guy? Again, I guess that's the intention. I don't remember it being this hard to see in the original version. Go this way? I assume I just go forward. I don't really know where I'm going. Oh, that's an invisible wall, I think. I guess I go left. The place where there isn't grass, I go. I just some random zombie just, like, grabs me and then it's a game over. Yeah, this is the definitive series version that released in 2020 that put all 4 games together and put them into a little bit of a new art style that's like more graphic novel looking. Some of its colors. I think it looks different. I don't know if I'd say that's better. Definitely different though. And there's been a decent few graphical glitches in this, and so it's like far from perfect. So it doesn't feel like a super high quality, like, dedicated remaster. It's more of just like, here's a different way to see the game, and here's them all together in, like, a collection. Plus, like, bonus features, like a place to listen to the soundtrack and see concept art and stuff. That's cool, but the games themselves feel, Earlier this stream, I was kind of comparing it to the Assassin's Creed 3 remaster, where it looks different, but not necessarily better, just, like, different. That's the case. Yeah, she just skedaddled on out of there. I guess there were zombos very slowly waddling over towards her. She did have the kid, but yeah, this is super low visibility. Like, no doubt way less visibility than the original. Like, holy crap. Definitely a big difference here. That is true. Clem is another kid. Oh, thank goodness that's open. Happy 4th of July.
Jane?
There's a poster to clarify there in case anyone didn't see it.
You all right?
Thinking them saying Happy 4th of July out of nowhere.
Where's the kid?
He's with her.
You left him with her? Jane?
Not intentionally. Oh, the door doesn't slam shut. Why is the exit sign green?
Wait.
Aren't they typically red? Maybe it's red if it lights up.
Jane, you okay?
He left the opposite door wide open still.
Jane, where
Never
is
noticed that before. What do you do?
What did you do? He's...
What are you saying? No.
It's also now past 4 in the
No.
morning. I don't actually know what that is.
No.
Sorry to
Not
say.
again. Not again.
Something alcoholic it sounds like.
Clem, look at me. No matter what happens, just stay out of it. Okay?
Okay, but you're a gotcha. It sounds something like that.
Stay out of what?
You have to trust me. You're gonna see what he really is.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust her after everything here. Can you calm down?
Calm down. Don't do anything stupid.
Get out of my way.
Kenny?
Yeah, I know nothing that I say here is gonna affect anything. I already know.
Accident, Kenny.
I won't back down from you, Kenny.
Shut up!
I'm warning you.
We're all that's left?
Kill each other. Not after all this. We're all that's left.
Stay out of this, Clem.
Clem, stay back. Don't you come near me, you son of a...
Yeah, I mean...
Kenny! Get the fuck
Yeah.
off!
Fuck you!
Jeez. Yeah, neither will... It doesn't matter what I say here. I know none of these are gonna do anything.
Let
The knee.
Jane!
No! Get off!
Oh my god! This is all your fucking fault!
Yeah, neither of them gonna let up.
Piece of shit.
Just go.
I ain't
Get
going.
between them. As if it'll make a difference. Wow, I really can't see anything.
This is on you.
Stop! You don't have to do this!
This is gonna really change what this scene looks like when I can't see anything.
Fucking kill you.
I mean, plot armor, I'm sure she has. Ugh. Yikes. Look at what you're doing.
What you're doing! Listen to me!
Get her off.
Yeah, this definitely changes the feel of this scene when you barely see anything.
Kill her.
God damn it!
I'll fucking kill you.
Oh, I'm getting like higher visibility in some of these shots.
Die.
Well, you can grab pistol, and this is basically the moment in the game where you decide how it's gonna end. And I've seen the endings of this game from, what was that, a one-frame flash or something different there? I've seen the different, yeah, she's absolutely no saint either. Like, neither of them are absolutely in the right or absolutely in the wrong. But having played this game before and knowing the different endings, I know that one set of endings is definitely far better than the others. I assumed look away was gonna be the default option, but like, I wasn't gonna risk it. So basically, one of them has to die there. And that's going to affect how the game ends.
Kenny!
You're not a bastard.
He's gone, Clem. She just.
I know that the Jane ending is shit, so I mean... And this is better closure to the story.
He's gone.
Time to press Y!
You didn't have to kill her, Kenny!
I'm sorry, darling, but I did.
I guess that's technically a third ending, is kill them both. I don't even remember what that ending constitutes, which implies that it's not great. I'll play the Jane ending, never seen this, so this is new to you.
I'm right behind you.
The bright truck. The blue one. Semi.
Oh my god, AJ! Oh my god. Are you
Yeah.
okay?
He was safe, and if you do the Jane ending, she's like, yeah, I pretended that he was dead just so that you would see what Kenny is and see that, like, we couldn't be with him anymore. Have him show his true colors and yada yada.
I thought we lost you, buddy. I won't let you out of my sights again. That's a promise.
Then you didn't have to kill her. You didn't have to kill Jane.
It was me or her, Clem. She was trying to kill me too.
Yeah, I
Lied
mean,
about Alvin here, it wouldn't have went that far.
I just...
try and convince Clem
Why
to
would she...
leave
She was
Kenny as
nuts,
well.
Clem. A disturbed person that had her own agenda, that was looking out for herself.
Take care of Clem as the new little sister figure.
It's all right, buddy.
And ditch Kenny by convincing Clem that he was a monster
Listen,
by
I didn't want that to
bringing
happen
out his
either.
true
I
colors
thought she
by
killed
pretending
Alvin,
that
Clem, and at
AJ
any
had
point,
died.
She could have stopped what was happening by saying he was fine. She wanted a fight.
Yeah, she did.
Never, ever hurt you. You understand? I was protecting you. You believe me, right? Just imagining what she did to Alvy. Everything just went black. By the time I got my head straight. it
Yeah,
was
you
too
have your
late.
fair share of problems, Kenny, but
We were already at each other's throats.
You were right about her.
this is definitely true
She
too.
was
I'm not gonna get an ending where I
unstable.
leave him here.
Always just looking out for herself.
Yeah. I wanted to be wrong. I did. But it was clear from the start. put some miles between us and this place.
Yeah, he absolutely does there. Like, Clementine's basically the closest thing that he has to a surrogate child here, in a sense. Adopted child, you could say, at this point. Closest thing to family that you had known before, and 9 days later. And AJ is kind of like a new start after seemingly letting down his previous family in all sorts of ways, and kind of wanting to start from scratch and do it right, I feel like. You want me to hold him?
You want me to hold him?
Nah, he's still light. We're fine. Come on. I'll race you to the top.
Hey!
Come on, Alvy. We got this.
You cheated.
Yeah, that's true there. That's him being no saint that makes him an interesting character.
We did it, Clem. That's gotta be it.
Definitely looks different in this version.
I can't believe
A lot more
we found
white.
it.
Looks like a big wall.
I was thinking about pressing B, but
Out here, in the middle of nowhere? No, that's gotta be it. What are we waiting for? Come on. This one's gonna be the one. Look at those walls. Finally feel safe, Clem. Be able to sleep at night.
That's far enough.
Just stay still, Clem. Do as she says. Put your hands up, Clem.
Drop your weapons. Approach the gate.
Just
Putting
a
the
couple of
hands down,
people at
though.
the front gate. They don't look like trouble. Sounds good. Hi, I'm Edith.
Name's Kenny. And this here's Clementine.
Hello.
hopefully he doesn't get lost in the snow.
Oh, what a handsome boy. Look at him. What's his name?
Alvin. Junior.
Oh, he's gonna be a little heartbreaker when he grows up.
Is
Krista
there
here?
someone named Krista in there?
I don't think so, dear.
So, this is Wellington, right?
A lot of people call it that.
Okay. So, what do we do to get in?
Well, I'm afraid this is the part where I give you the bad news.
The hell's this?
That's some supplies. Food, water,
What?
some medicine, a first aid
Why are
kit.
you giving us this?
Unfortunately, our community isn't accepting new members. We're over capacity as it is, and there's just not enough to go around if we keep bringing people in. Things might change in
You
a
gotta
few
be
months.
fucking kidding me.
Is there a double space between people
I'm
and in?
sorry. I really am.
So we're supposed to just take this
But
and
the
go?
baby.
But we
And yeah,
have a
that is still
baby.
nice giving like
This-
supplies, especially if they're
this is
already a
hard
little
for
bit
me,
hard
too.
pressed.
I don't want to turn anyone away, especially children. But
Just take the kids.
What?
Please. Just take the kids. It's too dangerous out here for them.
Kenny,
It's just a little girl and a baby boy. You can make room for that. You can take back the supplies you gave us if that helps. Please, just... I need them to be safe. And it's safe in there. I know that. Just ask someone, please. They won't make it out here. Please.
I'll ask. Just give me a second.
You don't need to look at me like that.
Yeah, so this is what happens if you do the Kenny ending.
what the hell are you doing?
Look at these walls. It's safe here. You two will be safe. That's what's important now.
We can take the children, but just the children. I made the case that...
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, okay? Listen. This is your chance. For you and this boy. I don't trust myself to keep you two safe. Not anymore. Please, I'm begging you. Please, stay here. Stay here, where it's safe. Where you two will have a chance.
No, no, no! Why are you doing this?
Because it's the only way. For both of you. Think about Alvy here. Please, Clem. Just do as I'm asking. This one last time. You'll meet people. You'll make friends. People better than me. Good people. That don't have to look at you and feel ashamed at what they put you through.
Jeez.
Clem, please. Where you won't have to sleep with a gun next to you every night. You can be a kid for a while.
I think the right thing to do is to say okay.
Okay. Okay, we'll stay.
Good.
We'll stay.
Good. This is the right decision. Okay.
Yeah.
When he's
Like, it'd be so disrespectful to
his
say,
mom
like,
and his daddy
we're
and all
leaving
the
together
people
at this
who tried to
point.
keep him safe. You tell him, okay? He deserves to know.
And he would feel like such guilt about that.
I got, oh, here. Take this. When he's old enough, you make him wear it. It'll keep the sun out of his eyes. That's important. All right. Good. Keep an eye out for him. Please. Now, you take care of Alvin here. You live a good life, okay? Don't waste this, okay? Now, I'm gonna go before one of us changes their mind.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna walk away, and I might not look back. Not because I don't want to. I'm real glad to have met you, Clementine.
Keeps himself from looking back. I guess presumably he'll pick up the gun that was out there. Yeah, so that's the Kenny ending. If you go with Jane, you end up going back to the warehouse and finding a whole bunch of supplies there, and then some people come looking for supplies, and then you get like the final option of, do you want to share your supplies with them, or do you turn them away and hoard it for yourself? And either way, it's just like, hey, you brought them in and you're sharing supplies, wow, that's great. Or you turn them away and you kind of look as they as they walk away, like, yeah, we do what we have to in this world. And it's like, okay, who cares? But yeah, like with Kenny, there's absolutely redemption at the end of his story. Like there's a lot more meaning that comes from that. And then if you do like to set off on your own or kill them both, I don't remember what happens. I'm gonna be honest, which tells me that it was probably something forgettable. I remember that I looked it up afterwards and like found out about the different endings, but I don't remember what happens there. So it's probably something like not super great either, and just kind of like, oh, I guess it ended. But with the Kenny ending, it's like, wow, that's actually a conclusion to the story and wrapping up his character. Protected the baby. You and 58.6% of players protected the baby. Wait, when? There's a situation where you wouldn't protect the baby? After 4, you've ruined your sleep schedule? Yeah. I'm a little bit worried about Extra Life and, well, I'm gonna be there in 26 hours from now. Yeah, there is that, which is just going to extend my 24-hour charity stream at Extra Life. I'm just gonna spend an extra hour on the West Edmonton Mall ice rink is all that means. Want to help Luke. I know that was the stupid decision, but like, we're not operating by like logical real world rules here. So, asked to leave with Mike. You and 80.9% of players didn't ask to leave with Mike. Yeah, that's especially without the kid. Like, maybe it would have been closer to 50-50 if they were trying to take the kid with them. Shot Kenny, you and 49.1% of players didn't shoot Kenny. It's pretty close, though. In the end, who are you with? You and 21.4% of players are with AJ at Wellington. But you have to keep in mind that there's, like, so many multiple different things. Like, this isn't going to be, like, a 50-50 split kind of thing on average, like a lot of these choices are. Because it's either with AJ at Wellington, with Kenny, like, continuing to head out, and, like, again, that would be, like, such a bad option. You get to Wellington, and he's begging you guys to get in there, and they're just like, nope, we're continuing to trek out together, even though it's gonna be, like, such a shitty upbringing for the baby, just so that we can be with you, who might not even be, like, the best fit for us, like, and going against his wishes as well, like, that'd be such a bad move. 50.9% of players in this version, at least, the definitive series version. Like, it might be different statistics for the actual original game version. Who knows? Because I don't know how many people are playing this. So there's already 2 options there with, like, the Kenny route. Then there's an option of you trekking on your own. And then I guess 4th option of with Jane, because I don't think that the 2 options within that of share food or don't share food count towards that. I mean, maybe it would count you as with the couple people that you let in to, like, share your food with or whatever the heck. As a different group. But there was at least 4 then. Is at least the case. That's The Walking Dead Season 2. I do still think I prefer the story of the first game. Like, it is pretty hard to one-up that, but I do really like this one. And I think the best character in this one is definitely Kenny. I feel like so much of the story is based around him and, like, the dynamic between him and Clementine, the dynamic between him and the rest of the cast, and the dynamic between him and, what's his face there, Bill, that I'm forgetting the other name of, but the guy from Chapter 3 that was, like, the main villain that was, like, over-controlling of everyone there and genuinely believing he was doing what was best and that sacrifices needed to be made of other people. Yeah, and I think that he's just, like, so fascinating as a character in storytelling in general, with him undergoing his story across Season 1 and Season 2 here. And then he wouldn't appear in, like, any game after this point because so many of the endings involve, like, him being dead, so they wouldn't be able to, like, factor him into, like, future stories. So that's, like, the end of his story. And I do think that's really fascinating, where, yeah, he's just, like, this typical Floridan guy that's looking out for his family and does work on the truck and is doing what he can to support them, and he's a little bit skeptical of other races and has some stereotypes in the back of his mind, like when I think he calls Lee Oriental and assumes that he knows how to pick a lock because he's black. In the first game, and Lee is like, what the hell, man? So coming with some notions there, or things like the one guy was Russian in this, so he just calls him a commie, or that Russie or whatever the heck, and just having these kinds of stereotypes for people that aren't, like, within his own group. Stuff like that. And even in the first game, a lot of the time, it would be his way or the highway, with him very much wanting to control the way that everyone is making decisions. Like, he knows right, and he's willing to take advice from other people, but he's not willing to have anyone stand up to him and say, no, you are completely wrong, and we are going to do this other way instead. That's what he's not willing to do. And the criticism only accept from those that he respects, like Lee and Clementine, I feel like. Like, you saw him very much getting into fights with people in Season 1, but with the whole, we're going to make a boat work, why don't you believe in me? And if you don't side with Kenny all the way, like, he'll call you into question at the end of Season 1 when you're asking all your friends to, like, support you to help save Clementine. Like, I wasn't always agreeing with him in Season 1, and so he was like, yeah, I don't know, we haven't always been seeing eye to eye. Just because I wasn't always doing exactly what he said at every twist and turn, and I was challenging him sometimes. We haven't always seen eye to eye, but you still respected me enough to join me in helping save Clementine. But there are some timelines where that might not be the case if you challenge him a little bit more. I don't know, we should probably listen to some music while I'm doing like my full review here, because that credits was pretty short. And yeah, his main purpose was family, helping to support them, mainly Katya and Duck for a lot of it. And secondarily being the people that he respects, like the new family that he meets along the way, like Lee and Clementine, that kind of became that circle. Everyone else in the group, he couldn't really care less about throughout season 1, but Lee he got, like, a great respect for, and, like, Clementine through that as well. I don't know, what do we want to listen to here while I'm doing my full review? Because there are a lot of things I'd like to say. I don't know. What's that credits theme that we just listened to? Because that was actually, like, chill. Oh, I can't hold it to go down. But yeah. Grasped onto family as his purpose and held that tight. Spent the whole time chasing family and chose to give that family up at the end for their sake. That's a story arc. Absolutely, that's a story arc. So I really like the ending there. Would it be called the end of it all? Where would, like, the credits theme be? So I don't think it's that. I don't think it's Wellington. End of it all? When did this play? Kenny's Rage? Because I kind of like the credits theme, and I wouldn't mind listening to that as we, as I discuss some things here. I know it's 4:24 in the morning, but, like, I don't know. Hold on. Maybe I can look it up here. Can I just have it play no music at all? Hold on. Let's see here. If I go to, like, YouTube here, out of curiosity, The Walking Dead Season 2 Telltale, to clarify, credits theme extended, how about? All credits songs and credit songs. Here's a playlist, I guess, for, like, the different episodes. Let's see here. Episode 5 soundtrack at peace. Oh yeah, I should also check. That is the end of season 2, right? There isn't, like, a DLC thing that I'm gonna have to play later, like I did with the 400 days or whatever the hell. Why was it even called 400 days? I don't even remember. But yeah, have a cozy bed. You're gonna head out. Okay, don't take care of the Emerald Finder. I'm just gonna go through my review and then I'm gonna call it a night here. Let me just make sure really quickly that there isn't something that I need to come back for later. No, I'm good. That's the end of this playthrough. Okay, just making sure. Just making sure here. Clementine's Suite from Walking Dead Telltale Definitive Series. Click on that one here. Let's see what this sounds like. The Walking Dead soundtrack Season 1, A New Day, Clementine's Suite. Let's see what this sounds like. But yeah, Kenny is absolutely the most fascinating character in the story, I would argue. I don't think I'd say that he was, like, the most fascinating character in Season 1. Like, he was up there. But he definitely was in Season 2. And, like, his arc across the 2 games, kind of completing his story, I think is really cool. At a certain point, Clown Lady stopped caring about Clem and just cared about sticking it to Kenny, and that's why you don't care for it. Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like a little bit towards the end. I mean, or maybe she just kind of cared about Clem and wanted to keep Clem to herself, because I feel like she was starting to abstract her sister onto Clementine a little bit. And needed the reassurance that, yeah, this isn't going to be the same as with her sister. Like, things are going to find a way to work out, or find a way to recontextualize things that, yeah, death comes for us all eventually and it'll be okay, but still kind of drawing parallels there and being like, yeah, I don't want Kenny as part of this picture. And yeah, it definitely still is. Like, they were both messed up, I would argue here. But yeah, with Kenny having to go through so much in the first game by losing Duck and Katya together and just going through that immense loss. I'm going to turn this down a little bit so that I'm still, like, clearly audible over it. And still need to press on as, like, everything has gone against, like, his initial plans of protecting family and just doing what he can to help out Lee and save Clementine. And a last-ditch effort and seemingly sacrificing himself, because no matter what route you take in season 1, he's gonna end up in a situation where it's like, there's no way he gets out of that. Like, you don't see it confirmed that he's killed, but it's like, there's no way he's getting out of there. So that in season 2, it's like a genuine shock when it's back. And yeah, Duck never would have made it. And, like, I can definitely see that being the case here. And in season 2, I feel like we get to see a lot more of his character explored than we did before, and also kind of recontextualize him in season 1 a little bit. So in season 2 here, like, it's been a long time since playing this, so there's a lot of things that I didn't quite remember. Like, I remembered Kenny and Jane and, like, the beginning of this game and the end of it, and, like, what the different endings constituted. I didn't remember, like, the details in the middle, so a lot of this review is coming out of, like, my experiences just now and not, like, my long-term memory of having remembered this. So Kenny finding a new partner, for example, that I'm kind of forgetting the name of because she was a little bit more of a background role. But that's also because Kenny kind of kept her in a bit of a background role, where it's like, she's helping move some of the boxes around at the lodge, and Kenny's like, oh, no worries, I got this. And she's like, no, that's fine, I'm willing to help out here. And he's like, I said I got this, and is starting to get a little bit more aggressive and controlling in his protection of his family, and him needing to do what he feels is right, and also have people that he sees as his family kind of fall in line of what he expects. And yeah, I do want to just look at, like, graphics comparisons in general, because this was a very different look that I thought was interesting here. Or when we were going out to deal with, like, the wind turbines, and him and Luke were going out to deal with either a second wind turbine or whatever the hell they were doing. And she's like, oh, I'll come and help. And he's like, no, you stay here. And, like, is ordering her around like that. Like, the two of them were in a relationship together, but it was not an equal relationship. He was clearly the controlling one out of the two of them, and expected her to do as he said. I imagine that thing is holding up probably not very well here. And that was things that I probably wouldn't have noticed playing this 11 years ago as a teenager. That was the case, like, detail that I wouldn't have been able to, like, read into and see, like, those subtle aggressions that he was giving off of being controlling. And then, just with, like, the plans with the group of it being, like, his way or the highway that you see, just like in Season 1, except amplified, because now, like he said, he hadn't been able to sleep for, like, 2 years. He'd been, like, so completely lost. But his new partner helped give him something to live for. Clementine being back helped give him something to live for, and then AJ helped give him something to live for as well, by having something to protect, and just being, like, so single-minded in that protection that anyone else that is going to come in that way, he will gladly beat to a pulp or do whatever he needs to do, like fear tactics to keep them in place. And it does draw a strong parallel to Bill in the 3rd chapter, the one that's, like, super controlling over Rebecca and AJ that he assumes is his son here, and wanting to curate the exact perfect environment that he envisions, even if nobody else really agrees with him that that's the best, and just completely over controlling everything because he's the one that knows best here, and talking to Clementine about how that's the case, and it's their job to show these people that don't know what's right. And you can definitely see Kenny kind of falling into that same role as well, and how he could have gone down that villainous path that Bill must have gone down, until the end when, if you do the Kenny ending, he swerves off that path last minute. And I think that that's really fascinating, where, like I mentioned before, it's kind of like one of those situations where you have, like, a hero and a villain that there's parallels being drawn between. Like Tales of Arise, where Alphen is the hero and Volron is the villain, and they both had, like, the same power granted to them, except Alphen had friends to protect and to support, and Volron didn't have that. And if Alphen didn't have that, he probably would have gone down the same path as Volron, like, drawing the parallel between the two, where it's like these different conditions and different decisions around those conditions shape them into different people, and either one of them could have gone either way, or Noah and N from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 being another example of that, where N was the one that gave up and decided it was too hard, and he just wanted to give in and be with the person he cared about rather than trying to craft a better future. And Noah fully says, like, yep, I could potentially do that, but I'll try not to. Try to keep pressing forward even if I'm alone. But there being, like, the clear parallels, considering story-wise they're literally pretty much the same person. So the clear parallels there where it's like they could have gone down a different path. And you can absolutely see how Kenny could have potentially gone down a, alright, that's done there. Let's see here, episode 5 credits? Because I actually like that, let's put it on loop. Let's see here, let's have a little bit of a listen here. Where with Kenny, you could have absolutely seen him go down a similar path there, where he was starting to adopt a lot of the same things that Bill, I forget what his last name was that everyone kept referring to him as. I'm just remembering him as Bill right now. So that's what I'm going to refer to him as Bill was doing in episode 3, where it's like he's just completely controlling this environment, deciding he knows better than everyone else, and everyone is going to fall in line, and if they don't, then they are going to face punishment for that. And that's kind of the stance that Kenny took as well, where there's clearly meant to be a parallel drawn between the two of them, and show how Kenny could potentially go down that path if that's what his environment continues to shape him into, if he doesn't have those there, like Clementine, to try to be a little bit of a guiding light through his darkness and keep him away from that path, because he could have absolutely gone down it. What else did I want to say about him here? Him losing the new partner that he cared about, that, like, one, he cared about, but two, he could also control, as was seen with how he treated her sometimes, but still truly caring about her. Losing her, and it seemingly being Clementine's fault not being there to protect her. Seeing how he could turn against the few people that he still cared about in the world if he sees them as responsible for the loss of other ones that he cares about, and just, like, completely tearing them apart, with him going at Clementine's throat and treating her like she's the source of all his woes when he's lost her now, and saying some downright nasty things to her that one should never be saying to a child, and then later needing to apologize for that darkness of his. And again, like, you can absolutely see how he could have been shaped into a true villain, but then at the end deciding, me wanting to justify my existence through the overprotection to the point that I will stop anyone else in my way, to stay with and protect these people that I see as my family no matter what, deciding to be able to put that behind him, to do what's genuinely best for them, rather than what's best for him and his mentality and his control over them, like he would exert during both Season 1 and Season 2 here, being able to put that behind him and acknowledge that he's not what's best for them. Like, he's come to realize that, and has begun to, like, fear himself, because he envisions himself potentially going down that villain path as well. And so, being able to stop that by putting them in the environment that's truly best for them and making the self-sacrifice, as opposed to the thing that he was presumably staying alive for. Like he had said, he was basically in such an awful rut being alone for a couple of years there. And then it was through having family again, a new partner, having Clementine, that he would basically assume, like, the role, well, he tried to assume the role Lee had with Clementine, not quite being in the same position there with the way they treated her, but trying to assume it in his own way. And then having AJ come into the picture as well, having that family that was basically like his new purpose to live, and being willing to put that behind him, like, not behind him, but being willing to give that up, I should say, and being willing to go back to being alone those 2 years where he wasn't able to sleep, where he was basically just dead inside and just completely lost. He was willing to go back to that because he knew that he wouldn't be in that same state anymore, because the people that he wanted to protect were safe and okay, and it's okay if he's out there on his own now, and doesn't matter if he's gonna live long or not, or whatever happens to him, because those that he wanted to keep safe, ultimately, he was able to keep safe, and I do think that that is really fascinating. So, I do genuinely think that Kenny is one of the most fascinating characters in the whole Walking Dead Telltale series here. Especially considering he has, like, 2 seasons here of storytelling to, like, really build him up and complete his arc if you go down that route. It's unfortunate that I think that most players probably wouldn't go down that route. They probably see him, like, becoming, like, the most violent that, well, depending on if you would classify it as the most violent he has been. Yeah, he got pretty violent towards Bill. But seeing him in this unstoppable state where he's gonna kill, like, another one of the main characters, I feel like to prevent this, maybe you should shoot Kenny, and, like, maybe he is a monster after all, and it's too late for him, and, like, I feel like the game probably expects you to probably be shooting him at that point. But then, again, the ending that you get with Jane is you go to the, you go get supplies, and you choose whether to share them or not with other people that show up. There's nothing really meaningful that concludes Jane's story, as far as I remember. This would have been like 11 years ago that I looked up the different endings. And then setting out on your own, it's just like, yep, Clementine and AJ doing what they can out on their own. But with Kenny, you actually get, like, the completion of his story that progressed through the first and second season and concludes with this game, and I would argue that that is definitely by far the best ending of this game. Again, Kenny is, like, so far from a saint. He's no white knight. Like, there is a lot of darkness in him and a lot of hatred and animosity that he struggles to deal with, and the other people around him especially struggle to deal with at times. But that's what makes him a fascinating character. When a character is just like, yep, I'm a character that's always going to be doing the moral good. It's not really very interesting. There's not really much to analyze there. Just like stereotypical good guy hero that's seeing the adventure through to the end. But that doesn't really make for interesting storytelling. You have to inject a lot of other interesting elements to be able to, I would argue, engage people in a story like that. But when you're making a main character, or a hero slash anti-hero, or whatever you want to call him here, when you add that complexity where it's like, you never are really sure what he's going to do and if he's going to be able to move past this, or if you should trust him and be, like, calling this all into question, but him ultimately being, like, a good guy deep down that does the right thing at the end of the day. It's like, wow, that is actually a fascinating character that's worth analyzing how he got to that point. And instead of just like, yeah, he was always doing moral good throughout the whole time, and there's nothing really extra to pick apart outside of that. So I think that makes for very interesting storytelling, and I very much respect that. So I really like what they did with Kenny here. That they just antagonized him at every moment and lied about the kid with full intention to make him snap. Yeah. Again, if you do the Jane ending, she explains to you, like, oh, I pretended that AJ had died because I needed to show you what kind of person he truly was. I didn't think they would come to this. I'm sorry that he died. I didn't mean for him to have to be killed. I just want you to see, like, who he truly is. And all that. And it's like, can't place all the fall on Kenny. Like, you can't call her a good person after that move. Yeah, absolutely not. Like, neither one of them were exactly white knights. But Kenny's the much more fascinating one to analyze through 2 seasons of storytelling here, developing him and putting him on an arc, as opposed to Jane that's just like, she shows up in the 3rd episode, and then you get, like, backstory with the 4th episode, with her having a sister and stuff going on with, oh, why am I forgetting his name? I've been talking so much about Kenny. I forgot about the Luke, the last dudo of our initial group that died to random zombie under the sea, right at the end there. Having, like, a little bit of a connection there and analyzing her character a little bit that way, of her being a loner but being willing to go with people again, except not Kenny, her really not liking Kenny and feeling like this is dangerous to the people that she wants to be with now, of mostly Clementine, I would argue. Like, Luke to an extent as well, with her expressing loss at him being gone. Like, initially she had expressed, oh yeah, that fling that I had with him, it was nothing really. It's, like, who cares about that? I don't think I could ever really see myself being with him. But then expressing, like, serious grief at him being lost. Just goes to show that there was probably some feelings for him, and she was very much affected by the loss of him. So, liked Luke, but he was gonzo. So the other person that she would have cared about would have been Clementine, as like the last proxy sister that she would have had, that maybe things will be different with this time. And being like, yeah, I don't want Kenny in this picture. Let's try to make him snap so that he pushes away Clementine, or Clementine pushes him away after she sees what a monster he truly is because she just hates Kenny so much. And it's like, yeah, absolutely very manipulative. Yeah, that was probably for own personal gain because she wanted to have this proxy sister to herself, is what it kind of felt like. So both of them both Kenny and Jane, you could say, in that situation were kind of in it for like their own personal gain, for something that they felt would make their own lives better. You could argue with the mental excuse of this is what's going to be better for Clementine and AJ, when it's like, nope, that's just what you think is gonna, that's a justification that you use, when really it's just what's gonna make you feel better by being the one that gets to claim them as family, or whatever the heck, whether it's a proxy sister or the last people that you can take care of. But the difference between them is Jane wants to stay with Clementine and live a super difficult life out there with Clementine and AJ and put them through whatever hell is needed, just like she described with dragging her sister around, despite her sister's wishes to be left behind, just for her own self-satisfaction of being together with her. Whereas Kenny ultimately was willing to put that behind and be able to move on because he was willing to do what was ultimately best for them, even if it wasn't what was best for him. And so you could say that ultimately he was the one that was better there, when he was willing to make the unselfish decision at the end of the day, you could say. Like, even if that's not initially in the heat of the moment when he's getting super violent, at the end of his character arc, he is willing to make that sacrifice of his own sake for the sake of those that it truly affects and those that truly matter for that. I don't think I'm wording things here really well. I'd be able to say this a lot better if I was like thinking of a script that I was writing in a video essay rather than just like rambling here. But yeah. In fair, Kenny wasn't pushing Jane away. He didn't care for her, but he let her hop in the car even when she was antagonizing him. Yeah, that's true. She's the one that tried to walk out in the cold. He didn't kick her out of the car. Yeah, she threatened to walk out in the cold, being like, yeah, I'm pretty much done with this. And he was just like, you want to go out in this cold? Really? And just like really surprised, as opposed to just like pulling over and being like, all right, get out. We don't want you here anymore. Like, he was willing to still have her incorporated into the group, even if she was being an absolute bitch, was the case. Whereas she was the one that was trying to get him out no matter what. So, between the two, the game does kind of try to frame it. Well, would the game... Do I want to say this? I was about to say that the game sort of tries to frame it as, like, Kenny is the more unhinged, like, potential villain that might go on the same path as Bill, and Jane is a bit unpredictable, but maybe the more rational and maybe the more moral good between the two. But when you think about it, it really isn't so black and white. And it's really interesting when stories do that, as opposed to just having, like, a clear good side and bad side. Like, both sides have their pros, both sides have their faults, and it's interesting to analyze them. And Kenny's a lot more interesting to analyze between the two, because he actually has a finish to his arc, and a lot more storytelling going on than just a character that appears halfway through one season. He got 2 seasons worth of content, so he got, like, 4 times more storytelling than her, you could say. So he's a lot more fascinating there, and the character that makes more sense to, like, wrap up the story of. I think that this series does have a lot of interesting characters in general, across me having played, like, 1 and 2, at least. Again, I've played 3, I don't remember, like, a thing about it, so I thought it was super forgettable, and I've never played 4. When I eventually get to it on this channel, I'll offer my opinions on it then. But across 1 and 2, I think Lee and Kenny are definitely the most fascinating characters. I might honestly at this point say that Kenny is the more fascinating character. Like, there's a lot more complexity to analyze with him potentially being able to go down the route of a villain, and him dealing with, like, his own internal struggles and demons. I do think that Lee is, like, a very fascinating character as well. But he falls more into the role of a white knight that has made past mistakes that he regrets before. Whereas Kenny is, like, continuing to make mistakes in the present and deciding how he ultimately wants to deal with that by the end of his arc. That, I think, is really fascinating. I'm sure that Clementine will probably be really fascinating by the end of her full story with the end of the 4th game. We shall see here. And hey, maybe when I remember what the plot of the 3rd game is, maybe there will be some really interesting characters to analyze in that. But yeah, I really like what was going on with Kenny. That is definitely the strongest part of this game, I would argue. For the other characters, I feel like they basically serve their role in the plot, and there's not as much interesting to analyze about them. It's more like this is the role that they served in the plot to further along the journey or make Clementine/Kenny question themselves. Yeah, like, absolutely a changing shade of gray. Never completely black or never completely white. So, like, he is, like, absolutely a super fascinating character. And, like, thinking about this and replaying this story and refreshing my memory on it, and now as someone that has studied game design through university and done a lot of video essays on this channel, like, analyzing different stories and characters and stuff like that, I definitely appreciate his character a lot more than I did 11 years ago playing it as a teenager. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, like, hop in there and experience the story, and back then experience it at a surface level without really thinking about it like this. I definitely much prefer him as a character nowadays, and nowadays, after all this thought about him, it's like, huh, that might be one of my favorite characters in general in, like, video game storytelling. Like, he is genuinely very fascinating for that very reason, like being an ever-changing shade of gray. A state of gray. Becoming a Sony state of play, that rhymes with. The other characters are like, yeah, this is their role. We had the doctor and his daughter. That the daughter was kind of similar to Duck in a sense. Like, Kenny never really made that connection, but in terms of a character, was kind of similar to him, where it's just like, here's a kid that you basically have to look out for, because it's gonna be, like, struggling in this world otherwise, and not gonna be able to get by on her own. And we definitely see that at some points. Don't know what else I can really say about them. There's not really character development with them. Like, the other characters are very much just serving their role in the plot, and they do serve their role in the plot well, I will definitely say. I do feel like Luke's death, though, is a little bit like, oh, well, that just kind of came out of nowhere, and that's the case now. Like, I feel like they probably did have to kill Luke at the end there, just to show, like, hey, Jane actually did care about him, and that there was something more going on here. I mean, you could have also showed that in some other ways. I feel like at the end of these games, you can just expect, like, all the non-essential characters to be killed off, is what you could very much expect, so you get just, like, the key characters at the very, very end of the game that you need. Like, that felt very out of the blue there. The doctor dying and the zombie horde by, like, bad luck from a gunshot felt like it served a strong narrative purpose in breaking his daughter, that then serves as the contrast to Jane. Like, is this the same situation as her sister where she just shuts down, or is it possible to save her? And tackling that question there. So, again, like, no real character development there. I guess apart from, you could say, the daughter accepting that she does want to live and move on after all, before, like, dying shortly after. So the character development might not matter that much, but it serves like a key plot purpose in having that contrast with Jane. I googled it. Apparently the fight was originally planned to be Luke versus Kenny, but they changed it to Jane versus Kenny. Interesting. Huh. I guess it makes sense why they would change it. Like, Luke does have a stronger presence throughout the plot, being present from episode 1, and it's like, do you want to side with this new character that you've been developing a bond with throughout the game, or the old character that you had a bond with in the first game? But it's kind of harder to envision him, like, standing up to Kenny when Jane had, like, more incentive to do so with the parallels that she was drawing with her deceased sister there. And wanting to kind of have like a proxy of that with Clementine. It felt like, of course, Luke was close with Clementine and not exactly always being on board with everything that Kenny was wanting to do. But it was a little bit harder to see him, like, getting in Kenny's face. And, like, if he was challenging him, it would usually be just straight up challenging him. Not, like, full-on gaslighting and lying to him to try and make Kenny into, like, the worst version of himself possible. Like, that's not something that I could really see Luke doing. Like, maybe they change it to that to keep him more as, like, a generally ethical, good character throughout the whole story, as opposed to starting to turn him into more of a villain role, because, yeah, let's face it, Jane was being a bit of a bitch at the end, and maybe they didn't want to, like, tarnish Luke's good name by doing that. Tarnish the, a bit of a, sometimes voice of reason. Clementine was mostly the voice of reason, I would say, during that plot. Yeah, probably Luke isn't, like, the voice of reason. I think that he's more of the character that wants everyone to get along. Maybe he doesn't always know the best way to go about that, but fumbles through it in his own kind of awkward way, you could say, is what I feel like his character kind of is. And then there's Uncle Pete, that I can't believe he was killed immediately. He's the one guy that stood up for me, just to have, like, someone dying and a big cliffhanger and, like, big choice at the end of the first episode. Like, let's face it, that's what that was. And then Nick being like, no, why didn't you go over and save him? And immediately episode 2, you're like, oh, he was bitten anyway. He's like, oh, okay. But just so they could have that cliffhanger end at the end of episode 1 of like, no, why didn't you go save him? Or vice versa, or whatever. I do wonder if you went to Pete at the end of episode 1 if Nick would die. Considering he does die later, which means that it would be fair game to kill him off earlier anyway. I don't know if he served much plot purpose in the later episodes leading up to that. Like, I mean, there was the whole scene in the shed of him kind of giving up and not being able to continue on. That was pretty alright. I don't know what it was. Like, they, did they say that in the truck when they were driving away? Like, Kenny and Jane came out and just presumably shot back at Arvo, the Russian dude, Mike, that I'm surprised that I remember the name of, because he just seemed like generic recruit from the place. I don't remember what it was called. I'm just gonna call it Hose. I know they called it Hose then, but it's funnier to call it Hose. And then, Bonnie, that even if you didn't play 400 Days, which if you did, it changes nothing. Her character was a little bit of a stronger presence because she was there at the lodge, and she's chatting with Clementine, like, while loading ammo, and talking about her having a respect for Bill, even though he's doing some wrongs. And maybe that was the same case, maybe that was also meant to draw some parallels to, what's-her-face, her name started with an S, Kenny's new partner. Maybe Bonnie and Bill was meant to draw a parallel to what's-her-face and Kenny, and that Bonnie very much respected Bill and, like, had a deep appreciation for him for saving her, but recognizing that he's not always morally right. He is making some bad decisions sometimes and not always doing the best thing, but still wanting to support him because she greatly respects him. I wonder if that was also meant to draw parallels to Kenny's partner and him, where, like, again, he's clearly the one in charge in that relationship. He's being assertive with her. He's ordering her around. And she just puts up with it. Probably because, like, she had, like, a strong respect for him. And, like, they had past experience. And it was also an interesting showcase of some of the subtle ways that you might be able to identify, like, an abusive relationship. Russian guy really shot Clem, and that's the legacy he's left. That's not a great conclusion to his story. Yeah. And after I didn't steal from him either. Like, what? Why? Why would you do this? I can see why he'd want to shoot Kenny after all the shit that Kenny put him through. But shooting Clem, like, wow, what an actual dick. What a great guy there. The episodes in general, the first one, just set things up well for like, hey, here's the group that we're gonna be going with. They're all gonna be killed off throughout the whole game. The second one's setting up with, hey, here's a new group that includes a character from the previous game that we're gonna continue the story of, and now introduce like conflict with the guy that appeared in episode 1 that wants them back. Like, that was interesting too. The third episode of, yep, now you're in this place and you gotta escape. That's interesting there. The fourth episode was probably the least interesting of all of them. The most interesting part was definitely the stuff with Kenny dealing with the loss of his new partner, and then how he's gonna treat moving forward here. And then, like, the fifth episode, of course, being, like, the interesting conclusion to it all. I think the least interesting was probably, like, the first or the fourth one, I would argue. But it does do a good job of being an engaging story throughout. Like, I know that I've been streaming for a long time here. 9 hours, 46 minutes, and 56 seconds now. And I could have gone to sleep at points. But part of me was also genuinely wanting to see it resolve, because I do think that is genuinely an interesting story. 5 a.m. might want to wrap up if you want to sleep before the sun rises. Yeah, just looking at my back window to make sure that the sun isn't coming through yet, because it has happened while I streamed before. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this Halloween stream to go on that long. Other things that I can mention really quickly in my full review here. The art style of this version, different. I don't know if I like it more or dislike it. It definitely grew on me more as I played it, having the graphic novel kind of art style. It's definitely not perfect in places, and places where it definitely bugs out a little bit and is a little bit funky. So it is definitely a little bit sloppy, and I feel like it could have used a little bit of tuning up to make it look more visually satisfying in some places, but it is an interesting difference, but I wish that you could switch between the two. Maybe there is an option for that, I just didn't realize it. Oh, another thing I can mention about the story. The DLC of Walking Dead Season 1, 400 Days, where it would have an effect on the events of Season 2. It doesn't! There's Bonnie that appears, and her 400 Days story has, like, literally no effect here. She runs through a field, and she smacks a bish that was, like, the wrong bish, and that was her 400 Days story. And everyone else is, like, little mini stories, and their only presence here is they'll get, like, one line in that warehouse. You get to see them once. They're basically making cameo appearances, but cameo appearances are only fun if it's, like, a long-established character that you have a connection to, where it's like, oh, I recognize that character that I really enjoyed. That's really cool that they're canonically here, too. 400 Days are all these random douchebags doing all this random stuff that I don't give a shit about. And then they basically get cameo appearances in this game if I shelled out for the DLC of the first game and played that useless narrative. Just for cameo appearances of these characters I don't care about. Like, what an absolute waste. That's one thing I can criticize about the story that's, like, connected to the DLC of the first game. It's like, what's even the point? Like, 400 Days, just an absolute waste. And if you play 400 Days and play Bonnie's story, or you didn't, that makes no difference for her here. I couldn't give a shit about what happened with the 400 Days story with her. Like, and it had no effect on anything here. It did not develop her character in any fascinating ways. I wasn't able to look at her character in this game differently because of the additional context I had in 400 Days. Like, it's been a long time since I played 400 Days because this was a year ago. But she felt like a different character than I remember playing in that DLC. She did not feel like the same character. Like, I guess you could say that she underwent development when Mr. Dudo saved her and she got, like, respect for him. Like, what's the point of showing this other side of her then? In, like, this very brief, like, 10-minute mini episode where she runs through a cornfield and she smacks some bish with a pipe or whatever the heck it was. Like, it's just so pointless. But yeah, all these douchebags doing all this random stuff that just describes Bill's group. Yeah, that was indeed. And he absolutely has a satisfying ending with the Kenny ending. The other ones really aren't satisfying, I would argue, but the Kenny ending, that's a good one. I hadn't seen it before, I'm glad I was able to share it with you then. That's art style. And gameplay is standard Telltale stuff where it's like, you're not really gonna be thinking too hard about it. Like, maybe you'll be thinking about your decisions, but it's not, like, really difficult gameplay. It's simple, easy fun that anyone can get into. The fun comes from the world building and the characters and making decisions, stuff like that, and that is still fun. It can feel a little bit crappy when you know that your choices aren't going to matter ultimately for some of the things. Like, oh, I saved this character from death here. that just means that they're going to die, like, very soon after, because that's the way it works in these games. And then it's like, okay, what's the point of you making the decision then? So that kind of thing feels shitty. So it's not exactly a perfect formula, but it can be some good, simple fun. And, like, super engaging gameplay isn't the appeal of it. You're basically just sitting down and watching cutscenes endlessly when you play these games. And if you are interested in the story, that can be good. And I'm definitely very interested in the story of Season 1 and Season 2. I'm not interested in the story of Season 3, if memory serves, but maybe I'll change my mind when I get to that on the channel. Maybe next year, October. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely works very well for this format. We'll see what I feel like when I get to Season 3. Oh yeah, before I get to Season 3, I just remembered that in Season Select, there's technically one thing before Season 3 that I guess I'll do at some point, because I'll cover this whole series. Between Season 2 and 3, they made this, like, 3-episode series that was, like, The Walking Dead Telltale Michonne, because Michonne was such, like, a big character in the TV show. Because everyone loves Michonne in the TV show. She was a badass. So Telltale was like, oh, let's just, like, make a mini-series about her. And I know nothing about it, but apparently reviews of this were mixed and just kind of like, yeah, it's okay. But I want to play everything, so, like, I'll probably cover that at some point. I'll just do it in release order, so I'd probably do that next. And yeah, that. See how good that is. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. It is currently 5:04 a.m. I'm gonna be trying to wake up 24 hours from now, so I'm gonna need to get like 2 sleeps before that point. The sleep that leads to that wake up, and the sleep I'm about to take here. Gonna try to wake up 24 hours from now to get to. I almost said to the Starlight Children's Hospital. Not there. To West Edmonton Mall to support the Starlight Children's Hospital in 25 hours from now. So, exactly 1 day from now plus 1 hour, I'm gonna try to be, like, at the West Edmonton Mall ice rink to help start setting up the venue. So, I have to, stayed up way too long watching this. Yeah, I stayed up way too long playing this. I said at the beginning of this stream, I don't actually know if I'm gonna be able to do it all in one session. So, like, if it starts getting really late and I need to for the sake of my sleep, call it. I might just call it and then say that I'll do the rest of the episodes later. That didn't happen. That's going on November 2nd to 3rd. So the actual day that it's happening for, like, the public is November 2nd. Because all that's happening on November 3rd is just... We're still playing games up until, like, the mall opens. And then sometimes shortly after the mall opens, we're taking everything down and heading home. So Saturday is, like, the only day that it's, like, running and open to the public. And if you want to stop by my Smash event, that's running from 7 to 8 p.m. And I printed, like, a whole bunch of dragons and stuff like that to give out. is my plan. And it's gonna be, like, really, really short. It's 7 to 8 is, like, the entire time slot that I have, including setup and teardown. Because there's a band that's apparently, like, they still haven't posted an official schedule, even though it's November 1st now. Or, I mean, maybe it's posted since the time I was streaming this, but as of Halloween, there still wasn't an official schedule posted, but promised to be soon. But I did get confirmation from the Extra Life Vice President, Extra Life Edmonton Vice President, to clarify, that apparently there's a band playing up until 7 p.m. and a band that's scheduled to start playing at 8 p.m. on the stage, meaning my 7 to 8 p.m. time slot that they put in for Smash Ultimate Free Play that I'm hosting on the stage, yeah, that includes setup and teardown. So my little cousin and I are just gonna, like, run up to the stage at 7 p.m. and, like, set up my Switch, like, in world record pace and be ready to, like, take down that thing so dang fast at the end to, like, maximize that brief 1 hour time slot with as much, like, Smash Bros play as is possible, so that, like, people get the chance to, like, come by and play and stuff like that, because it's gonna be a small time slot here. So the official time that it's starting on, technically tomorrow at this point, on Saturday, is 11 a.m. I can pull up the thingamabob here. And it goes until 12 p.m. I have, after I opened the other Telltale thing, it opened it moved it to a different monitor here. Let's see here. If I go to, let's see here, Eventbrite, Extra Life Edmonton, you can see that I've looked this up before. Extra Life Edmonton Game Day 2024. This is the page for people to, like, yeah, sales ended. This is for people that were, like, registered to go, like, play games in the LAN area as part of a fundraiser as well. What, can I still not see the details? Oh, view all event details. Okay, I still can. The scheduled start time is 11 a.m. Like, that's when the proper opening will be. And then go until, like, noon the following day. So, I assume that the venue will be open to the public around this time, and there's going to be, like, a public access space where they did announce all the exhibitors that are going to be there. It was on their, where do I have, oh, there's the Twitter thingamabob. What's on their thingamabob? Yeah, 7 to 8 p.m., which is 1 hour before the mall closes. The mall closes at 9, so it calls it pretty close. If I look up Extra Life Edmonton following here, let's see here. So in the public space here, hey look, there's our group, Fragapalooza. Let's see here. They posted it recently here. Yeah, this is apparently all the people that are going to be in like the public access space. So there's like sponsors like Animathon or something or Bob's here. No, just stopping by. And the Smash Bros thing is going to be like completely open to the public with like donations encouraged since it's for since it's a big charity fundraiser. And I figured in case anyone has like coins or something like that they want to drop, I 3D printed this pumpkin thingamabob yesterday. It's meant to be a candy bowl, but I shrunk it down. So I 3D printed that, and it looks pretty alright. And then if anyone like isn't able to do like digital donations but wants to donate, it's like, hey, just drop like some coins or like some light bills or something like that in there and I'll donate it. So I figured I'd do. I made like a QR code that links to my donation page as well, and a little tag that's like, donations, thank you so much, in the Stollery colors that I can just like set up at the front of the stage. So I got that all 3D printed yesterday. But yeah, so how it works, I don't think that you'll be able to see the floor map here anymore. Sales have ended. Basically there's two halves to the venue here. Let's see. If I find a picture from last year. Let's see here. And Face ID is not recognizing me. You love to see it. iCloud storage is full. I don't care. Let's see here. Come on, Discord. Open up. Bear with me. Let's see here. Now it opened up. Go to my Discord server that I use to just send myself images and crap. Let's see here. And then would it be in my favorites? I don't know. Let's just scroll manually to about November-ish. I should be able to find it. That was the trip. This is like January-ish. This would be around November-ish. No, that was actually still January-ish because that was pictures of Janland this year. Here we go. Here's the space. If I just send a whole... Oh yeah, I do have some of them favorited. It looks like. Yeah, let's just send a whole bunch of pictures of the, of Extra Life 2023 in this server here. So the rink is essentially split into two halves, a public area and a LAN area. And I think that they're taking more space for the public area this year, so it's gonna be like more like 60%, 40%, something like that. Let's see here. So here was the area last year. I think this was taken at like super early in the morning, so all the vendors had already gone away. But it's like, here's the LAN area where it's just those with tickets that are able to get into there, and they have people that like check wristbands as people that are like here to be gaming and fundraising, either with their own 24-hour charity streams or their own like gaming charity events or whatever form it might take. There's the Fragapalooza section over there. And it makes sense that they wouldn't want the public to get in there, especially when there's like unattended equipment. Because, yeah, the biggest mall in the country, and it's completely open for people to just wander into people bringing like a whole bunch of their own private setups. Like, yeah, I'll just pocket that controller, yoink. So it does make sense for like a protection kind of standpoint of property. And then outside here, this is all like the public area. So the entrance was over on this side here. I think this was the only way in and out. They might have opened one up over here. We'll see what it's like this year. And then that was the place that they had like a whole bunch of vendors. And people could go like check out what's going on the stage. I'll be running the Smash from 7 to 8 there. Let's see here. And then as for stuff in the public area, there's like sponsor of Animathon that'll be promoting their thingamabob. Of course, like Stollery Cub Store will be there because it's supporting the Stollery Children's Hospital. The Alberta Ghostbusters will be there, which is fun. Like, they know me because I've seen them in my Luigi cosplay a couple times, and I've taken some photos with them. Is the case here. So I'll definitely have to go over there and say hi. I most recently saw them at Comic-Con and had a picture taken with them, where I wasn't in my Luigi and Proton Pack, but my little cousin was. I was catching up with them and chatting about Extra Life a little bit, so. And they did, like last year they did a thing where they went around the venue with like the Ghostbusters theme blasting and doing like a little jig as they're going around the rink and stuff here. So I hope they do that again this year. But yeah, how nice of them to just leave the free Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons for people to yoink there. I had mentioned to Extra Life staff, like, I'd be willing to set up a station here with, like, my Switch and keep on gaming here. And they were like, yeah, because that's your equipment, we wouldn't really feel comfortable leaving that unattended there. And I thought maybe someone checking wristbands here could just keep an eye on it, but they would have to, like, peer a little bit far, and it's not super safe. And in hindsight, it's like, yeah, that probably isn't a good idea. I probably should be over there. So, yeah, I'll be supervising stuff over there. So it'll be fun saying hi to them. This one is interesting. This is this here. It's like an inflatable obstacle course, and they arm you with Nerf guns, and then you can go in there and have like a Nerf battle with one another in an inflatable obstacle course. And I didn't do this last year because I didn't really have anyone to do it with, but now that I'm going to this event with my little cousin, there's a good chance that at some point we'll take a break from the stream and go over there and like Nerf battle each other in the inflatable obstacle course. So it looks like they're back again this year. I had to look up what this was. I think it's a store in West Edmonton Mall, and it's a cafe and games focusing on like TCG games I found out earlier today. Mainly focusing around like Pokemon cards. They sell a whole lot of that. And then there's like stuff that's available for like kids to learn like different thingamabobs here. Yeah, I think that's what all three of those are here. So it's not like a gaming convention or nerdy convention like GameCon or Fan Expo or Comic-Con or anything like that, where there's just like all sorts of vendors with all sorts of cool things everywhere. But there's like some cool things to like check out and learn a little bit about and see what's all going on at like the LAN event where like it's all for a fundraiser here and stuff. I might have some people from my German bilingual group might potentially be stopping by, because when I met up with them around a late night campfire dinner one night, I mentioned it to a few of them. So we'll see if anyone stops by there. Anyone says hi. And last year, the Fragapalooza area, there's a little corner here. We have like this little table that looks almost like a head table. It looks like super official over here. I was like the only one here that was there through the night. Most of the Fragapalooza volunteers are, like, the biggest thing that Fragapalooza contributes is floor plans for like how to manage all the cabling and sets up like the networking and stuff like that. So there's like a decent few Fragapalooza volunteers there to help with setup and then arrive and help out with teardown as well. But last year, I'm pretty sure I was the only Fragapalooza person that was there to help with setup and then also do like a 24-hour charity stream anyway. So I was basically able to set up whenever, and I just asked the other frag staff, like, hey, can I just like yoink the corner? Is anyone using it? And they were like, nah, go ahead. And I was like, okay, cool. I got this whole L-shaped table to myself, whereas most people get like the little bit of table space that I believe is 4 feet of table space across they get, and just however much equipment they can fit in those 4 feet. I just get however much I want. Because of with Fragapalooza here, which I think is incredibly funny. Like, unless there's more frag people here doing 24-hour charity streams. But I know there's gotta be two. Me and my little cousin that are just gonna be like on my one stream with me playing pinball games and him playing Elden Ring. So, I mean, maybe we'll move over if we don't have enough cabling to reach the stage for when I'm doing like Smash stuff, because I do want my stream to keep going. So maybe I'll have to move over for that. We'll see. But if the cabling's good enough, well, I'll just set up on the corner. I love having the corner. There's so much space to play with. It's so nice. And then whenever I'm not doing stuff on the stage, then maybe I'll just like, there's probably a bunch of spare Halloween candy now. Probably just fill this up with like Halloween candy and leave it on like the front of the table here, so that any like other people doing 24-hour charity streams could just like come by and like take some candy and feel a little bit recharged and stuff. That's just like a nice gesture. Is what I might do. Yeah, made me feel all official there. I was like the only person behind the table through the night. So yeah. When I went for the first time last year, I didn't even count as frag staff yet. Officially in the frag Discord server, I still don't count as frag staff. Like, maybe I'll get that sorted out before next year, but I do have a staff shirt now. So I guess I'm like sort of frag staff, but sort of not. I mean, I attend all the staff meetings. So I think it's probably fair to say that I'm frag staff now, and my little cousin will probably become frag staff the moment that he's 18. I would imagine. And, yeah, it would definitely be good to bring in, like, a cooler. Tomorrow, well, today, is gonna be all about preparation. So, I'll go to sleep, set my alarm for less than 8 hours of sleep so I can function, but I'm tired. my little cousin has the day off school today apparently, which works out perfectly. So I can just like go pick him up and we can go do some grocery shopping and pick up some snacks and stuff that we want throughout the event, and like maybe get like some bread that we can make into sandwiches, get like some salami and cheese that we can put in there. Oh, maybe make like some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches now that I have my own homemade crabapple jelly that I made on Monday. He can try out my crabapple jelly, see if he likes it. Make some sandwiches and stuff, stock up, and then figure out how the heck we're cramming 3 people and 2 people's like full equipment and setups into one vehicle. Because normally I would drive to LAN parties myself, like to Fragapalooza there and back. But for events like this, I know that if I'm gonna be there and by the end I'll have been awake for like 30 hours at that point after helping with setup and stuff, that is not safe driving conditions. And I don't want to be a hazard to myself and other drivers. So I'm very extremely grateful to my mom for being willing to give us a ride there and back, because yeah, it's not safe to do that. Also, I'm a little bit sketchy about leaving a car overnight at West Edmonton Mall. Yeah, we're gonna need bags. One cool thing that I got recently that I can pull out here that is gonna be awesome to use. Here, I just have it over here. I bought this for this event and all future LAN events that I go to, like Fragapalooza. It'll just help with that. Let me take off this pin before I break it. So I think this'll help. It's a cart. I can just take off the cover here. So it's a fold-out cart that I can fit my computer equipment into. So it's not only like that size at maximum there, but the back actually opens up like a tailgate. So I can fit even more crap in here if I want. And it's like a sturdy metal frame. We can pack a couple computers into here. Folds up nicely. Put it into the car. And then we have to make like less strips. Less piling things onto chairs, like computers and monitors, and trying to keep it from falling off the chairs. We roll it down the way, like we oftentimes have to at Fragapalooza or Extra Life here. Now it's just like load up the cart and make like a couple trips with that. Maybe still have some things on the chairs, but not like desktops and monitors like we normally have. Put the desktops and monitors in the carts and all that stuff there. So, but I am also gonna have to figure out like space for that cart. I am glad that it folds up nicely. But I did get that in preparation for this LAN and just like future LANs like Fragapalooza. Like just a nice future-proof kind of thing. Yeah, I'd definitely be a little bit sketched out about overnight WEM parking for sure here. So yeah, definitely the much safer play. So that's what's going on here. So, sleep, less than 8 hours. Get up, a little bit sleep deprived. Spend the day packing up with my cousin, figuring out what the heck we're doing. Do a little bit of shopping so we're like prepared on supplies to tide us over here through the whole event. Figure out what Tetris combination we need to do to like fill up the car and then store it in the garage overnight. And then right on Saturday morning, we can just like head out like immediately. Hopefully he's awake enough in the morning when we go knock on the door. And then get suited up, head out to WEM. Start setting up the venue like I helped out with last year. Like here was the early setup last year, for example, where it's like we were just bringing out the tables and starting to set them up. Tiles were already down. I'm pretty sure stuff like the tiles is set up like the night before. Make your cousin take a cab so there's more space than be a move. Yeah, I don't think that he'd be very impressed with that. I don't think here. But yeah, super pitch black. This was at like 6:20 in the morning, something like that, I think. So got the tables set up here, and I had them stacked up like this and then laid out the cables and then put the other tables down so that the cables would be like perfectly in the center. Imagine that's probably what we'll do this year as well. So there's like some cabling down and stuff, so it's doing physical labor before starting the 24-hour stream, so yeah, they're intense. I think that we're gonna keep one another accountable to stay awake. And it'll be great. So this is what I'm dealing with. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get this computer packed up here in the car in preparation for that. Man, why do Halloween and this event have to be so dang close? If they were like another week apart or something like that, then I could do this stream without worrying about it messing everything up. But yeah, I'll go to sleep early on this day here. just be sleep deprived for this next day. I really hope that doing this stream until 5:23 in the morning here won't severely screw up my ability to do this 24 or 26 hour stream, whatever it turns out to be. One day from now. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But time to sleep. Is what it is. It's time to head out of here. Let me exit this game before I forget, because I will forget if I don't do that. Yeah. This is gonna be fun. Can't wait to stop by and see you as a zombie. Yeah, just show up in like the morning or something like that as the mall is opening and just see me die on the floor. Something like that. Yeah, it'll be a little bit of craziness here. But yeah, I'm also already impressed that we're already at like 127 out of 500. Like, before the actual main event has even started. That's pretty cool there. And we'll see what ends up happening during the actual 24-hour charity stream. With that, I really enjoyed this game. I was able to identify it, analyze it a little bit deeper than I have before, and I have like a newfound respect for it, and I ended up really, really liking it, and now I also really, really like Kenny as a character. I think he's fascinating. I gotta go to sleep now and see how I can salvage this and survive the 24-hour charity stream 11. I'll figure it out. So until then, goodbye! That do be an option. Some people do that at Fragapalooza, because Red Bull's one of the sponsors of Frag. So there's free Red Bull around all the time. But not an Extra Life, I don't think. I've never had a Red Bull, and I don't think I'm gonna buy some just to try and stay awake there.